Quran Unfolded.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حاميم. تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم. كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome again to Quran Unfolded. We're going to be doing a series, inshallah, about the signs of the Day of Judgment. We're going to start with the minor signs leading to the major signs. And mashallah, we have with us again Dr El Habbash. Welcome, Dr El Habbash. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
And Dr. Al Habash is going to be giving us a lot of wisdom, inshallah, about these things. So, just want to get, like we normally start, we start with a recitation of Quran, and then we go into the English meaning, and then we'll continue there, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah Abu Ishan. Tafadhal, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما قدر الله حق قدره والأرض جميعا قبضته يوم القيامة والسماوات مطويات بيمينه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون. ونفخ في الصور فصعق من في السماوات ومن في الأرض إلا من شاء الله ثم نفخ فيه أخرى فإذا هم قيام ينظرون. وأشرقت الأرض بنور ربها ووضع الكتاب وجيء بالنبيين والشهداء وقضي بينهم بالحق وهم لا يظلمون. ووفيت كل نفس ما عملت وهو أعلم بما يفعلون. صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Al Habash. Now, inshallah, if you can give us the English translation of that.
إن شاء الله.
Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وما قدر الله حق قدره. People, or the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, did not appraise Allah, the appraisal that is due to Him. Although on the day of judgment, the whole earth entirely will be in His grip. The heavens, all the heavens, will be folded in His right hand. Exalted is He, and He is above everything that they associate to Him. Then it talks about the last hour. The last hour will start with the blow in the trumpet. وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ, and the trumpet will be blown. فَصَعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ. Everything in earth, everything in heaven will fall dead, except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to stay. This is the first trumpet, the first blow. The second blow, ثُمَّ نُفِخَ فِيهِ أُخْرَى, then another blow in the trumpet. فَإِذَا هُمْ قِيَامٌ يَنظُرُونَ. All of them, after they're dead, they'll stand and will be looking forward. On that day, everything will vanish in this universe. There is no sun, there is no other planets, there are no stars, everything has been destroyed. So the only light will be the light of Allah. وَأَشْرَقَتِ الْأَرْضُ بِنُورِ رَبِّهَا. And the earth, by the way, is not the same earth, different earth. وَأَشْرَقَتِ الْأَرْضُ بِنُورِ رَبِّهَا. and the earth will be lighted, will be shining with the light of the Lord. ووضع الكتاب, and the book of records will be placed so that everyone knows that his records are there. وجيء بالنبيين والشهداء, all prophets and witnesses will be brought. This is a day of judgment. وقضي بينهم بالحق وهم لا يظلمون. The matters will be settled in that judgment. Judgment will be given and nobody will be wronged. ووفيت كل نفس ما عملت, and every soul will be compensated for what they did. وهو أعلم بما يفعلون, and Allah knows better. He's the most knowing of what everyone did. صدق الله العظيم.
Subhanallah. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. El Habbash. Again, whenever we hear those verses, it is so scary, tells us basically the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He will, when the trumpet is blown, everyone will die. And the Sahabas, they understood this really with great meaning, that, they would tremble, they would shake. But unfortunately, with us, we get on with our normal lives, and some people get on with life as though life is going to last forever. But really and truly, that's the reality of what we're going to face in the future. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, inshallah, and give us tawfiq, give us understanding to be fearful of that last day, which you said is like 50,000 years of our reckoning, which is a horrible day. Allah protect us, inshallah ta'ala. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the signs. So I want you to give us, Dr. El Habbash, a general sort of how you're going to approach it. Whether we're going to start with the minor sign first or the major signs first, and what steps you're going to take. Just give us an overall view, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah. Now about the last hour and the signs of the last hour. All these signs are in fact has different interpretations, different meanings. We notice that there are signs that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, during the life of the Prophet ﷺ. There are other signs who came immediately after his death. Even his death itself was one of the signs. So you can say the signs during the time of the Prophet ﷺ is a bit far from the last hour. However, these signs are told to the people so that people at that time will connect with the last hour. They will not forget about the last hour. They see these signs, remember the last hour. The last hour is very important to keep in mind. Whether we are going to reach that time or we are not going to reach that time. Perhaps we can say, we are not now since 1400 years, more than 1400 years, and the last hour didn't come. So how is that going to affect us? We are not going to live thousands of years. In fact, our last hour is the time when we die. But the time when we die is not the end of it. We have to come back at the last hour. So the last hour, our concern is coming back, resurrection after the last hour. And this is what should concern us. The last hour is one of the pillars of faith. And perhaps one hadith summarizes the whole issue of Islam and faith and the last hour and so on. One time the companions were around the Prophet ﷺ, sitting, talking to him, And suddenly a man came, clean, with clean clothes, and he sat in front of the Prophet ﷺ, very close to him, and started talking to him. The companions were surprised. Who is that man? He
Is
doesn't
that because his clothes was clean,
Yeah.
or he's coming from the desert, basically no sign of,
Exactly.
yeah.
So they said that he's not a traveler. He's not coming from
Yeah.
distance, and he's not living here. We don't know him. So where did he come from?
Mhm.
So they waited. So he started asking the Prophet ﷺ, tell me about Islam. What is Islam? The Prophet ﷺ told him, Islam is to state that there's no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and his messenger. Then after that, you offer the worship. You pray 5 times a day. And that person was saying, yes, true, you are saying the truth. Then after prayers, you have to give zakat to the poor. Yes, you are right. After that, you have to fast a month of Ramadan. You're right. You do pilgrimage. You are right. And the companions were surprised. Who is that one who's asking?
And then confirming.
And confirming.
No.
Then he asked him another question. Tell me about Iman, the faith. He said that you have faith in Allah, you believe in Allah, His angels, His messengers, the books of Revelation, the last hour, and the predestination. So the last hour is coming here. Yes. The last hour is something important. We should believe in it.
Absolutely.
And he said, yes, you're right. Then he asked another question. Tell me about the last hour. So he picked the last hour from this.
Okay, but he asked Ihsan, is that right? What is Ihsan, or does that come later?
No, he asked tell me about the last hour.
Okay.
Tell me about the last hour. And that man, the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who asking the question knows better than the one who being asked. So you ask somebody who knows less than you about the last hour. And that made the companions more even surprised. He told him, okay, tell me about the signs at least, the signs of the last hour. So the Prophet ﷺ told him little signs, few signs. He said that one of the signs that تلد المرأة ربتها, the woman will give birth. If she is a daughter, that daughter will be a mistress for the mother, or something higher than the mother. And another sign, you will find the people al-hufa, barefooted, al-ura, the naked, al-ala, the poor, ra'at al-shat, those who are shepherd,
yes,
running after the sheep and camels. You'll find them running for building, constructing high buildings.
Yes, competing basically with each other.
Among themselves, who will have the biggest tower, the tallest tower. So that said, okay, you're right. And he left. That man left. After that, the companion asked, who's that man? And the Prophet ﷺ said, this is the angel, Gabriel. He came to teach you about your religion. So from this hadith, we take the part which is the last hour, and we elaborate on that one. The elaboration on the last hour, I mean, in this hadith, there are 2 signs of the last hour. The woman giving birth to her master or her mistress.
I mean, anytime I hear that, it's just, I just like to clarify that for for our viewers watching. When you say give birth to the mistress or whatever,
Yeah.
it's more like giving birth to your boss, right? It's like giving someone who is like, who's going to be in charge of you.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
This is what will happen. And the interpretation, why is that going to happen, would be two different meanings. Muslims will have a lot of slaves, and the slaves are giving birth. The newborn will be free person.
Yeah.
So he's in a position of a free person, and his mother is still a slave.
No.
However, we can see that Islam wasn't encouraging slaves. And you'll find many ways of freeing slaves. So we don't expect that slavery will continue forever.
Yes.
And now you can say it is obsolete. We don't have slaves. The other meaning is that people will not be having gratitude to their parents. And that ingratitude will make the child looking to his mother rather than with high respect. We look her as a slave. She's doing what he wants. So this is the other interpretation.
No.
Which means that the influence of the religion on the life of people is degrading with time before the last hour. Although the Prophet ﷺ told us that it is going up and down, but in general, the last hour will not happen when there is one believer on the earth. So all the people at that time will be the worst people, the devilish people.
No.
So we can say, even mathematically, we can say it could be going up and down, then degrade to bad people. So it is a sign that the mother will be giving a birth to somebody who is bossing her or is looking down to her.
No.
However, this is not the only hadith that is talking about the signs of the last hour. There are many other hadith. However, in general, all the hadith that are talking about the last hour are not meant as a way of calculating the last hour. They're not meant that once you see the sign and say, after a few days or few years, the last hour will happen. It's not for that. It is basically and mainly to tell perhaps a few things. There are some wisdom behind that. The first one is to keep connected with the last hour, to have the feeling that the last hour is coming and you will be resurrected after that. And after that, what will begin is the eternal life, which is the most important thing, is what will happen after the last hour. In fact, one time, one of the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ, when the last hour is going to happen. So he did not tell him signs or anything. He told him, what did you prepare for it?
SubhanAllah.
So this is the main thing.
Yes.
It's not a matter of asking just to fill our knowledge with signs of the last hour, but what have we prepared for it? Now, the last hours, as mentioned, as we collected by people, the last hour could be coming as direct hadith from Prophet ﷺ to indicate the last hour, or it could be just a prophecy that something will happen in the future.
No.
Or could be something to tell us some rules that we can induce from the hadith to apply it to our life. For instance, one of the hadith talking about Dajjal, telling the Prophet ﷺ, telling that he will stay 40 days. One day is like 1 year. One day is like 1 month. One day is like a week. And one day is like your normal days. So the companions asked, how are we going to do our worship?
SubhanAllah. This is what they were concerned about.
If it is 1 year, so how can we just offer like a day? So he said, no, uqduru lah. You do your estimation. And this in itself, we use it now for the difference in times. In the pole, for instance, the day or the sun, because our day is starting from the dawn time to the sunset.
Yes.
In some countries near the pole, they don't have that happening in one day. The sunset may not happen for months.
Really?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
So the sun will not sink and the darkness will start. It will just go low and continue again.
So it's like daylight
So daylight is all the
is
time.
constant.
Yeah, there's no night. So in this way, we can do estimation for the day. They can fast from this time to that time, corresponding to some other constant things on the earth. So this is something for scholars to derive rules from this hadith. If something happening different areas on the earth, they can perhaps induce from the hadith something.
Yes.
We can, by analogy, apply it. The main sources of the sign of the last hour is in the Quran and in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. There are no others. Nobody else can tell anything about signs. In many hadith, what will look like a sign of the last hour could be a prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ, that this will happen. And if that happened, this is an indication that it is the truth that the Prophet ﷺ told us. Something he told us would happen, and it happened.
No.
He told, for instance, you will conquer Persia. You will conquer the Roman.
Yes.
You will conquer, or you will
Constantinople.
Conquer Constantinople, and you will conquer Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
And all this happened. We say signs of the last hour because after the Prophet ﷺ, there's nothing, no prophets coming. The only thing that will come, sure, for definite, is the last hour.
No.
So anything after the Prophet ﷺ is something close to the last hour. Prophecies that will happen, once we see them, we can say, oh, this is the Prophet ﷺ said that.
Yes.
So what he said is true, and we are close to the last hour.
SubhanAllah.
The Prophet ﷺ told us that, one of the hadith, I was sent in my mission as prophet, and I was as close to the last hour as these, or like these. And he joined his two fingers, so he's close to the last hour. In another hadith, he mentioned, one asked him, he told him that count 6 events that will happen before the last hour. And he started with, he told him, my death is the first one. So his life is a sign of the last hour, no prophets after him. His death also is a sign of the last hour, no prophets after him. Then he told him that count 6 events. The first one was his death. The second one, the conquest of Jerusalem. And in fact, it happened after him, during the time of Khalifa Umar, radiallahu anhu. That wasn't much far than the death of the Prophet, maybe within 5 years, something like that, 6 years. So it was proving that the Prophet said the truth, that Jerusalem is there. In that hadith, also, he said that after the conquest of Jerusalem, that the wealth, or not the wealth, before that, that there will be epidemic.
Yes.
And the epidemic will be killing the Muslims in large numbers. And that after, during the time of Umar also, a plague happened, and about 25 of the Muslims in the Sham area died with that plague.
Allah.
So this is another testimony to the truth of the Prophet ﷺ. Then he said, the wealth will be the norm for people. All
Will
people,
be
the norm. I mean, all
okay.
people will be feeling
Wealthy.
that wealthy,
Yes.
and or the increase of wealth to the extent that all people will be wealthy, and they will look to the money as something not that significant because they have a lot of it.
Yes.
To the extent if you give somebody 100 dinar, he will look down at it. What you are giving me, nothing. The other one, I mean, this is just an example. The other one, there will be fitna that will enter every house in the Arabia. And what happened after the time of Prophet ﷺ? There was fitna. There were clash between Ali radiallahu anh and Muawiyah radiallahu anh, and a war erupted between them. And many people killed in this.
Both Muslims.
Muslims. Both are Muslims. They are
All
calling
Muslims.
for the same cause.
Yes.
The cause was Uthman, the one before Ali, was killed. And the relatives of Uthman, they want his blood, revenge. And Ali was saying, you know, there is fitna and we have to wait for this fitna to subside down. Then after that, we apply the ruling for the killers of Uthman. But apparently, Shaitan played his part and the fitna erupted. Now, is that fitna is the only one that happened? No, there are other fitnas after that.
No.
And there are fitnas before that as well. If we talk about the wealth, is that the only time that the wealth will, when did it happen that the wealth was increased and the people are self-sufficient, they don't need each other? That will happen and will repeat again and again. These are minor signs.
Yes.
Then the last, or number 6, so I will come back in fact to these fitna and the wealth increase and so on, and even to the conquest of Jerusalem. I'll come back to them.
Sure.
And the last one, or number 6, that there will be a kind of peace agreement between Muslim and the Roman. And they will fight against an enemy of both of them. By this agreement, they will fight together against an enemy, a common enemy. However, the Roman will betray the Muslims after that. After they finish from the enemy, the Roman will fight the Muslim. They will come under 80 flags and 12,000 troops under each flag to fight the Muslim.
The Romans here means who? Is that Christians or?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or European? I don't.
I mean, at that time, the Roman, where you can see, at that time, the Roman are the Byzantine.
Okay.
Who, I mean, the Roman were divided into 2 parts. Byzantine, which is the Constantinople, and the other church, which is the Rome, the one in Vatican now. So but now we can see all of them are Rome, because they're from the same.
Yes.
They're politically divided, but they are Rome.
Inshallah, Dr. El Habbash, we've come to the end now of our show. Jazakallah khairan for sharing such great knowledge with us. We're going to continue, obviously, with this in the next episode. And Jazakallah khairan to yourself, inshallah, for tuning into the show, Quran Unfolded. Don't forget again to press the subscribe button if you like what you hear. Until we see you again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون